Hello, it's Jimmy, and today I'm going to be talking about my experiences with e-readers and ebooks, in particular comparing the two types of e-reader that I've had, which was the base model Kindle and the Kobo Libra H2O. So I first got a base model Kindle to read ebooks on about 3 or 4 years ago, and a big part of the reason for that was that I had accumulated a number of ebooks, but I didn't like reading them on the computer screen or on my phone screen, partly because the screen glare was unpleasant and the reading experience was just too different from reading a paper book that I didn't enjoy it as much. Often if I'm going away, I'll pack 1 or 2 books and then I'll think, oh no, I'm really excited for these books. I bet I'm going to blast through them and finish them on the journey there. And then I'll have nothing to read while I'm there and nothing to read on the way back. So I'll bring another 1 or 2 books. And then I'll be carrying 4 heavy books there. Won't read any of them. I'll just be scrolling Twitter the whole time on the journey. And then I'll have just been carrying 4 books around for no reason. Whereas with an e-reader, it's often lighter than a single book, but you can carry as many as you want on there pretty much. So I got the basic model Kindle. It was the cheapest one at the time, and it didn't have a backlight at all, which is partly what I wanted because I wanted it to be as much like a physical paper book and as little like reading off a phone or a computer as possible. So for about a year or two, I read from it all the time, on the bus, at lunch break at work. It basically lived in my jacket pocket, so I always knew whatever book I'm reading at the moment, I'm not going to forget it at home. It's on that little device in my pocket. And if I finish that book on the bus to work, then I know I'll have something else to read on the bus home from work because there's loads of books on it. So one thing that was convenient about having access to an e-reader with a comfortable reading experience was that I could now read all of these ebooks that, as I mentioned, I'd accumulated over the years. And a big reason I'd accumulated those is because of the publisher Verso. They tend to do these 80% off all ebooks sales. And I think in the past it even used to be 90% off all ebooks. So they'll do 40 or 50% off the print copies, but the ebooks will be down to £1 each or something like that. So every 6 months or so, Verso had been doing these sales, and I would go and spend £6 on 5 ebooks. So I had a good collection to get me started even before I got one. So that was a nice kickstart into the ebook reading life. Another benefit of reading on ebooks is that they are instant access. So if it was 1 a.m, I can't sleep and I really want to start on this book that I haven't got, I could buy the ebook online and start reading it on my e-reader straight away. So I've also been a big fan of audiobooks for many years, and I usually just listen to them on my phone, connecting with headphones. And when I first got that basic Kindle model, it didn't have any audiobook capabilities. That didn't bother me as I was happy listening to them on my phone. After I've had it for a few months, they did update the firmware, which allowed you to connect by Bluetooth headphones to the Kindle itself, and then you could listen to audible audiobooks through the Kindle. So I never used it. It was still more convenient for me to connect directly to my phone, to be honest, than the sort of the clunkier, bigger e-reader for audiobook purposes. But it did have some nice features. If you like to switch back and forth, read a couple of chapters in text on your e-reader and then listen to a couple of chapters by audio through Audible, then the Kindle would be able to sync them up, I believe. So that's kind of nice if you switch back and forth between those. But as I said, I would just stick to listening to audiobooks on my phone. And one great thing about audiobooks on my phone was that I connected to an app, a number of apps actually, that my library subscribes to, through which you can borrow both ebooks and audiobooks. So you'd have them available to listen to or to read through the app for, say, 2 weeks. If someone else had already borrowed it, then you can't borrow it at the same time, but you get added on a waiting list and then it automatically becomes available to you. You get a notification, you can download it and listen to it on the app. So I've listened to tons of amazing audiobooks completely for free through my library system on my phone, and I always loved that feature. One thing that was a bit disappointing to me was that those library apps also let you borrow ebooks, and often, for at least the libraries that I'm a member of, the ebooks selection would be much wider and have more on it than the audiobook selection. But I couldn't read ebooks borrowed through the library apps on my Kindle. I think in America, the Kindle is set up with some of these library systems so that you can do that. But in the UK, with the libraries that I was a member of and the apps that they used, and with my Kindle, it didn't work. So I just used those apps through my phone, which wasn't really anything to do with the Kindle. Now, after I'd had the Kindle for a couple of years, it broke. I think it had just been spent too much time in my jacket pocket. I must have leant on it or sat on it maybe or something. So then I didn't have one for maybe a year and a half until I got this Kobo Libra H2O, which it's a bit bigger than my old base model Kindle, and it's got a few more features. It has a backlight which is adjustable and you can turn it off completely, which is nice because I think on some e-readers you can turn it down to very low, but you can't turn it off completely. The reading experience is very similar to on the Kindle, and on both it's great. It's really comfortable. I really like that you can change the font size, for example, because sometimes you just want it easy on your eyes. That's more accessible if you struggle to see smaller fonts. So that is something that I love about e-readers. This Kobo, for me, doesn't have any audiobook capabilities. I'm not sure if some of the other ones in the range do, but this one doesn't. But as I say, that's fine. I just use my phone most of the time anyway. One great thing, though, is that this Kobo can link up with Overdrive, which is one of those library apps. And my library does subscribe to it. So what I'm able to do, say I don't fancy reading anything that I've got at the moment, but I want to read an ebook, I can get on my Kobo, I can scroll through the books that my library has available, and I can download one for free, and I can read it, and I have it on there for a couple of weeks. Really easy, really nice way to use that library service. And finally, I can use all those audiobooks they have available through my phone like I always do. And finally, I have access to that wider selection of ebooks as well that I can read through my Kobo. So I've been really enjoying that. I love that feature. So overall, the experience for me between Kobo and Kindle is very similar, except that on the Kobo, I have access to that library app. So that swings it for the Kobo for me. That makes such a big difference. And another difference that goes in favour of the Kobo is the format of the ebooks. So Amazon uses a proprietary ebook format, which if you buy an ebook through the Amazon ebook shop, it will only work on an Amazon Kindle e-reader or app. So if you decide to switch, suppose, it seems unlikely, but suppose Amazon went completely out of business, or just suppose that they discontinued their Kindle line and they stopped making them, then you'd be stuck with files that you can't use. Whereas Kobo and every other ebook shop and system, as far as I'm aware, use open ebook formats. So they work perfectly. If you buy it through the Kobo store, it will download straight away onto your Kobo. That's really nice and easy. But if Kobo goes bust, or if you just want to switch to something else, then you will be able to carry those files over with you. So that is a lot more flexible. That's really nice. I really don't like Amazon's closed system, which doesn't offer any benefits to the reader, to the customer. The only benefit is that it locks you into Amazon's system and makes it less appealing to break away and try something else, even if the something else might have better features that suit your needs better. One more thing that's cool on the Kobo that wasn't on the Kindle, at least the one I had, is it's integrated with this Pocket app. So I don't know if you've used it before, but Pocket, you can get it as an app on your smartphone or as an extension in your browser. So I think it's built into Firefox now, which is quite cool. So if you're on a web page or an article or something really interesting, but you want to read it later, or you want to read it on your Kobo for that comfortable reading experience, say it's a really long article and the screen glare is getting to you, then it's one click on Firefox, or on the smartphone you press share to Pocket, and it goes into your Pocket account. And if you log into your Pocket account on your Kobo, it automatically downloads them so you can access those articles directly on here. So that is quite a nice little nifty feature as well. There's one big factor that I would put in favour of the Kindle before I give my ultimate reason for choosing the Kobo, but that is email to Kindle. So when you buy an ebook through Verso, then you can just click a button and it will send the ebook file to any email address that you put in. And on Kindle, you can set it up so that you get a special email address, and if you send an ebook file to that address, it will automatically download that ebook file onto your Kindle for reading. And it's so convenient and a brilliant feature that Kobo doesn't have. So if you buy something through the Kobo shop or access it through that Overdrive app, or if it's something you can add to Pocket, then it downloads automatically onto your Kobo, really easy. But if you buy an ebook from another source, like from a publisher's website directly, then you have to download it, you have to plug it into the Kobo, plug the Kobo into the computer, drag and drop the file. So it's not that difficult, but just with the ease of email to my Kindle, which you can do from your phone, and then within a minute it starts downloading if your Kindle's on Wi-Fi. That is so convenient, and I wish Kobo had that. So if you're listening, Kobo people, please add that feature. So finally, the big overall reason why I'm not planning to go back to Kindle, why I'm happy to stick with the Kobo. As I said, in many of the most important ways, the experience is very similar. They're both a great way to read, in my opinion. They're very comfortable. I haven't switched to ebooks completely. I have way too many paper books on the shelves behind me and throughout the flat. But I do like it as an option. I think it is a great way and comfortable way to read, and I'm glad that I have an e-reader. But they are much of a muchness in that reading experience most of the time. Some of the little features like, the Audible sync thing on the Kindle, that might be really nice if you use it. The library integration is really nice for me on the Kobo, but they're quite similar experiences. The number one reason that I'm happy with the Kobo and I'm not planning to go back to the Kindle is that it's not owned by Amazon. So if you've watched many of my videos, you've probably seen me ranting about Amazon before. I don't think that Amazon's chokehold on the book industry does much good for any of us. I don't think Amazon is an ethical company, and the file format thing where they lock you in is a perfect example of that. It doesn't do any favours for anybody except for Amazon's bottom line and their profits. And again, it's a company which has made its founder and its head the richest person in the world. And I think to become the richest person in the world, you have to have some moral failings in the first place, because there's so many ways that money could be used to help people before it goes into your bank account. You know, there's a Twitter account that says, has Jeff Bezos decided to solve world hunger yet? And it tweets semi-regularly, Jeff Bezos didn't decide to end world hunger today. Because he's got that much money, he could, and he doesn't. And he could give his lowest paid workers comfortable work environments. He doesn't do that. They're really poorly treated, a lot of his lowest paid workers. Amazon avoids paying taxes and avoids paying for public services, which we would all benefit from. So they're kind of stealing from the societies that they operate in. So I really don't like Amazon as a company, and being able to have a very similar, in some ways not quite as good, in some ways better experience reading ebooks without having to put more money into Jeff Bezos' pocket, that makes me happy. So, do I recommend getting an e-reader? Yes, I do. Do I recommend getting a Kindle? I would urge you to consider getting something else. For example, a Kobo, which I'm very happy with. So, let me know, do you like reading ebooks? Have you thought about getting an e-reader? Or do you just love that musty smell and you are committed for life to the paper version? Or do you just like audiobooks when you want to go digital? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.